Well guys, if you hadn't noticed, I kind of halted back on putting out a top 10 video once a month. I thought I would just slow those down and put them out maybe once every 3 months or so. They are a lot more work than a typical movie review is, and I just thought it would be more of a special thing than coming out maybe once a quarter or so. So, today I'm going to count down what I believe to be are the top 10 best crime movies of all time. At number 10, we've got Silence of the Lambs, which I know most people would associate more with the horror genre, but I actually think it's more of a crime movie. Yes, there are definitely horror elements in it, but really this is a movie about a cop trying to catch a criminal. Even though without the horror elements, the movie would not be half as entertaining as it actually is. So don't get me wrong, I think those elements are very important to this movie. Like, Hannibal Lecter is now one of the most iconic movie villains of all time because of Anthony Hopkins' performance that will just haunt viewers' dreams. Jodie Foster certainly holds her own though, and watching her uncover the mystery throughout the film is so enthralling. It contains many twists, making for one of the most intense movie endings I've ever seen. At number 9 is Dial M for Murder. Many crime movies contain an element of mystery for the viewer, such as like watching the hero try and solve a crime. However, in this film, Alfred Hitchcock so blatantly and creatively just shows the viewer the crime at the beginning of the film. The viewers then watch as the criminal's crime comes back to haunt him through a series of intricate events that keep the viewer on the edge of their seat all throughout. It's such a different and original way to present a crime movie to viewers, and it came out in the 50s. Alfred Hitchcock was just so on top of it, so influential. And number 8 is Heat, which could have easily been just a throwaway heist film. Thankfully, Michael Mann directed it in such a way that allowed the viewers to see the protagonist and the antagonist in a way that blurred the lines between which was which. Credit should also be given to Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, who play these parts and make you root for each side in their compelling cat and mouse game. When watched today, its influence can easily be detected. Shots are beautiful, action scenes are shot well, they feel grounded and intense. This is not your average action crime film. This is a film with deep characters and big themes. It'll have you on the edge of your seat due to how well written the plot and characters are. At number 7 is The Godfather, and you're probably screaming at me right now for not putting it at number 1. Most proclaim it as a perfect movie, and one of the most influential of all time, for good reason. Francis Ford Coppola unorthodoxly crafted one of the best crime dramas of all time. Its influence can still be felt today, and the story is just timeless. And despite its long runtime, it's still extremely rewatchable due to its characters, its acting, and the brilliant presentation of the story that makes viewers feel as if they've entered a new fantastical world. One may even say a whole new world. One may even call it a dazzling place they never knew. And number 6 is Gangs of New York. Scorsese knows his way around crime dramas, but more importantly, he knows how to have fun with them. I was blown away by how well crafted this movie was. The acting, the characters, and even the CGI. It totally transports the viewers into 19th century New York and is in no rush to make them leave. Leonardo DiCaprio and Daniel Day-Lewis are easily the standouts of the film. It was so entertaining watching their characters interact and eventually battle back and forth through the political landscape in the underbelly of this crime-ridden city. And number 5 is A Clockwork Orange. I was originally tempted to include this on a top 10 sci-fi list, but at its heart, A Clockwork Orange is a crime film just set in a futuristic world which allowed for the ideas it presents to actually make sense. And talk about a film with ideas. This one will make you think. This is one of the most graphic movies I've ever seen, and it was made in 1971. But Stanley Kubrick didn't make it graphic just for the sake of being graphic. It was almost necessary in order for the viewer to fully grasp the messages that were being broadcast. Don't expect this movie to be good background entertainment. Like every Kubrick movie, this film is extremely deep, and this one even more so than normal, I would say. And Malcolm McDowell plays one of the freakiest characters ever put on screen. Number 4, Pulp Fiction is one of the most fun movies I've ever seen. When I first watched it, I didn't fully grasp why it was so beloved. I just thought it was a cheap movie with a pretty basic story. Aside from the non-linear storytelling, it didn't particularly feel like anything special. But that's what makes this film so special. It's so meta. Its intent was to be pulpy. Its intent was just to be a fun, made-up crime story with ironic characters and well-written dialogue. I think it's Tarantino's best movie, and number 3 is Goodfellas, which in my humble opinion is Martin Scorsese's best movie of all time, and the most quintessential gangster movie. The movie follows Henry Hill, a boy who dreams of growing up to be a gangster. It starts off with his adolescence in the 50s and follows the course of his life through the 80s. And the movie just gets more wild and insane the older he gets. This movie is such a visceral experience that must be seen. It provides the viewers with the ultimate Italian-American experience as well, down to the food and the family and their overall way of life. The acting is just so good, from Joe Pesci to Ray Liotta to Robert De Niro. It's just one of a kind. And number 2 is The Green Mile, which is one of those movies that has such a profound moral lesson penetrating through its entirety. It's set in the South in the 30s, when there was still racism oppressing equal rights. So the movie centers on a black man who is convicted of a crime and is sentenced to the electric chair for it. It's 3 hours of intense character drama with a slight fantasy element to it. It's heartbreaking, it's shocking, and it will stick with you for many years. Most importantly, it will make you think. It will make you think about the laws in our country and morality. At number 1 is 12 Angry Men. The only movie that I could place above a movie with such profound messages, such as The Green Mile, is one that has at least equally profound messages found within. 12 Angry Men is shot almost entirely in one room. It's just 12 men debating on whether or not this young boy is innocent or guilty on committing a crime. It starts off with the jury clearly leaning one way, until one man stands up and tries to persuade the others to really think this through before giving their final judgment about the boy. It has a lot to say about society, prejudices, and groupthink, and this one will make you think as well. Guys, thank you for checking out my personal top 10 best crime movies of all time. Expect one of these around every 3 months or so, and let me know what you think in the comments below. What are your top 10 favorite crime movies of all time? I'd love to hear them. And I'll see you for my next review.